everybody, and welcome in to Wisconsin Sports on the Go, and it's a crossover day. It's got to be a crossover day. All-Star game coming up tonight. We got to cross it over with Brutally Honest here, so I got Aaron with me today. Aaron, it's Tuesday. It's a great Tuesday in the great, well, you see, I can't just say the great state of Wisconsin because you're out in Pennsylvania, so the great United States of America, right? It is a fantastic Tuesday. How we doing today, Aaron?
Midwest, East Coast, shoot. Get somebody from the West Coast in here. But no, doing good. Can't complain. I can say it's been brutally hot, as I keep it brutally honest. But I'm fine with that. I'm one of those people that I sound like I'm complaining already, but hey, I don't mind it as much as some people, man. Some people don't even want to go out of their house. Get over it. It's going to be hot for a couple more months, and then it won't. So, yeah, it's the All-Star game, the festivities, stuff like that. I do enjoy it more than other sports especially. So, the NFL, what is that? What is that? But, yeah, no, it's fun. It's fun. It's a nice little break and something a little different, in the quote-unquote middle of the season, which really isn't, but.
I think they call it Play 60 is what they call it now in the NFL. It's that Play 60, league for little kids. They just advanced it to the adults now. We want to make it a little bit faster, right? We want to make it a little bit faster there. Yeah, it's hot and humid here in the state of Wisconsin, too. We can't get away with it. But, hey, coming up this week here, they're talking it's going to drop into the 70s now. So it's going to get a little bit cooler out there. But hopefully that doesn't cool down the Brewers like it did before the All-Star break. Going into that All-Star break with 3 out of 10. 3 of 10, 3 of 7, 3 of 10. I'm trying to say it right. They lost 7 of 10 going to the All-Star break. There we go. That sounds better. So cooling off a little bit. We're going to talk division races going into the All-Star break. We want to get into that today. We got to get into the All-Star game. There's a little bit of nitpick stuff we got to get into today on the show. So right away, I want to look. I saw a list. It was released by Pro Football. I believe that's the Pro Football Network right there. And they ranked their head coaches. They ranked the head coaches in the NFL. And I'm going to tell you this right now, Aaron. This one baffled me to the bone right here. Number 1, they have Matt Eberflus from the Chicago Bears. Matt Eberflus coming in at the number 1 spot. Number 2, Sean McVay. Number 3, Kyle Shanahan. Okay, the list kind of gets better after the first, which shouldn't have been there. So I guess that's all I got to say to that. 4th is John Harbaugh. 5th, Mike Tomlin. 6th is Jim Harbaugh. 7th is Matt LaFleur. 8th is Sean Payton. Number 9 is Dan Campbell. And number 10 is Mike McDaniel there from the Dolphins. I got to be honest. I would take about 3 or 4 guys off this list right here. I don't know. I would take off Matt Eberflus because what has he proven with the Chicago Bears? Like, honestly, the defense was good. Are you going to contribute the entire defensive success to Matt Eberflus or the defensive coordinator? Like, who are you giving that to right there? And then I look down the line there and I see Jim Harbaugh. Now, I get it. He was a good NFL coach. Some might say a great NFL coach. He went to college, won a championship with Michigan, always had him in the conversation. He was a good college football coach. Was he up to Nick Saban, Kirby Smart standards? I don't think so, right? One championship to shake your hat on. He ain't up in the category of those guys. Now he comes back to the NFL, and you want to throw him on a list already of the top NFL coaches? I don't think so. You got to prove it when you come back, right? You have a project now. Justin Herbert, people love Justin Herbert. And I don't know if you're one of those guys who loves Justin Herbert. I think he's got an arm talent, right? I think he's got, very good awareness in the pocket, and I think he's got the athletic ability to do it, but I haven't seen it from Justin Herbert yet. He hasn't led the Chargers to anything but a losing season so far. Now, I'm not going to blame that all on him. He's had, bad defenses, bad head coaches, bad wide receiver rooms, injured wide receiver rooms, I should say. So no help to him at all in those standards, but Jim Harbaugh has to prove it to me first. Sean Payton, are you kidding me? Are you serious with that one? Like, what did he prove last season with the Broncos? Now, and I'll be honest, you had Russell Wilson. You lost Russell Wilson now. Russell Wilson was your best shot. Like, that was the best shot for the Broncos. Now, who did they just drafted a guy, didn't they? Bo Nix? Isn't it Bo Nix that's going out to the Broncos there? So Sean Payton's got a project he had. You're already going to rank there. No, no, not in for that one. And, Mike McDaniel at the bottom of that list, you could argue him up. You could argue him back in head coach rankings there, but I leave him in that top 10. I'm going to say those three. Those three right there kind of irritate me, especially with what Matt LaFleur did with the Green Bay Packers last year. Keeping that team together, because, you watched the way they started last season versus the way they finished. That was a complete flip the script kind of team, right? Matt LaFleur could have just thrown in the towel. He could have been like, Jordan Love, we don't want to get you hurt. We're going to put Sean Clifford out there at times. We're not going to do this. We're not going to do that. He didn't give up on anybody in that locker room. He stuck with the game plan, stuck with it. And I tell you what, there's a lot of things that Matt LaFleur did last year that made Jordan Love look better, I'm not saying that Jordan Love didn't make himself look good, but there was a lot of play calls that he had where there was receivers, tight ends, they were running wide open by themselves because of misdirection and everything like that. So I don't know. Matt LaFleur he's kind of disregarded. I don't know, Aaron. You have your own problems with head coaching out there with the Eagles. We all know about that mess that's going on out there. But this list. But I want to hear your opinion too after you get done. Completely bashing Matt Eberflus and everybody else on this list here. I want to hear your opinion on Matt LaFleur too, because I feel like sometimes when they talk about top head coaches, right? I feel like he gets kind of thrown to the wayside. They're like, oh, yeah, he's consistent. He's consistent, but he's not a good head coach. He's not up there with Sean McVay, and he's not up there with Kyle Shanahan, who are two, phenomenal coaches, right? Kyle Shanahan's got a system, and he makes guys look good. Look at Brock Purdy. I'm not going to say Brock Purdy doesn't have talent, but there's systems that work for guys. Kyle Shanahan's got a great system. Sean McVay, I believe, is one of the top head coaches in the NFL. Like, year after year, he finds a way to do it. And last season, without Matt Stafford for a while, found a way to do it. So, Aaron, looking at this ranking, you got Matt Eberflus, Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, John Harbaugh, Mike Tomlin, Jim Harbaugh, Matt LaFleur, Sean Payton, Dan Campbell, and Mike McDaniel. What when you see that list, like, who was smoking what when they made this list?
If you partake in smoking the green stuff, so be it. But these are hardcore drugs these people are smoking. These are, you're getting arrested. Let's just say you're getting arrested, possession, possession type charges here, jail time. Come on now. Like this list is an absolute atrocity in all forms of the word. Come on. The fact that Andy Reid didn't even crack. I didn't hear you say Andy Reid once.
No.
Did Andy Reid retire? Not even put him in the top 10. I think he's the best coach I will say this. It's easier and it's much easier when you have Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback. It's pretty much Patrick Mahomes and then a drop off to the next guy, in my opinion, a pretty significant drop off. But he's a great coach. He's always been a great offensive coach. You take, all the way back to his days with, your Green Bay Packers and then, being the Eagles head coach. Offense has always been very good under his watch, and it continues to be that way. And, he's going for a three-peat, and he's not even in the top 5, not even on the list. Come on now. You could make an argument like I know DeMeco Ryans, it was his first year, but the guy, they're a playoff team after going, they were the worst or the second worst team the year before. It's his first year there, first year as a head coach coming out of the 49ers there. So, there's at least an argument to be made there. I am a big, I'm drawing a blank here. Remind me your head coach's name again?
Matt LaFleur. Matt LaFleur.
I don't know why that one always his name escapes me. I can picture him, but probably the freshest cuts in the NFL. The guy always got the haircut on point. Always. Good barbers out there.
We get style points. We get style points, if anything.
You would think New York would have the best barbers. Maybe it's Green Bay, Wisconsin. But no, all jokes aside, Matt LaFleur to me is a very, very good coach. I almost put a lot of those playoff losses. Jordan Love's so young in his career. I'm not going to go back and say that, that's kind of a mulligan in my opinion. But with Rodgers, I blame Rodgers more than I blame Matt LaFleur. I never thought the play calling was atrocity in big moments and stuff like that. So I'm high on Matt LaFleur. I've been high on Matt LaFleur. And like you said, after the start they had last season, there was questions being raised, at least from what I could what I heard, is Matt LaFleur even able to do the job? Is like Green Bay always holds their coaches, I think, to a high standard, which is a good thing. I definitely don't think that's a bad thing in any way. So I put Matt LaFleur definitely in the top 10. I would have to really sit down and kind of diagnose where I want each guy to be. Kyle Shanahan, yeah, he's easily in the top 5. I would say top 5. But the fact that you put the Bears coach, Eberflus,
Eberflus, yep.
yeah, another guy's name that escapes me. But no, I mean he's done absolutely nothing. I mean, yeah, you can bring up that their defense has gotten better. I mean, let's say Justin Fields has success in Pittsburgh. How bad is he going to look then? I mean, is that going to be where it's like, was it the roster? Was it? I mean, I think they have general management problems. I don't think they draft well. I mean, they have a lot of issues, but you can't what even makes him a qualification to be on this list? Like, what does he accomplish to be on this list? Right? Not even 8, 9, or 10. Like he's in. I mean, he's probably bottom 5 of the worst coaches in the league. And then what? Andy Reid's not even on this list. Like, come on, that to me makes it a joke. I mean, Dan Campbell, you got to give some respect for Dan Campbell there as well. I think you said he came in the lower, 8, 9, or 10.
Number 9, yeah.
Number 9, yeah. I mean, I'd probably bump him up. I mean, recency bias. I mean, you take Detroit to the playoffs. You're a couple of games away from or a couple of plays, I should say, away from the Super Bowl. You gotta tip. I mean, I think he's higher than 9. What, McDaniel was 10? You said.
Yep, Mike McDaniel's number 10.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's no way in this world that Campbell should be below Mike McDaniel, in my opinion. Like, no way in the world. Other than that, I mean, I'm trying. Who else you got in there? You got
Jim Harbaugh was in there, and so is Sean Payton.
Yeah, I mean, Sean Payton. Okay, he has a Super Bowl. How long? I mean, now we're talking a decade plus. Drew Brees was his quarterback, so let's keep that in mind too. I'm not trying to take it away from him, but what has he accomplished outside of New Orleans? I mean, this Broncos experience has not been good so far. Taking all bias aside, kind of talking on some bias. I really don't like Sean Payton, so I hope he fails. And Jim? Yeah, I mean Jim Harbaugh. He's kind of a clean slate to me. Like he shouldn't qualify for this. He should just have a no ranking right now because he's gonna have to prove it again. Now he's a clean slate. He's done it before, obviously with the 49ers there, but yeah, I mean I'd almost make a bigger argument for Stefanski from the Browns. I mean, after the turmoil they had last season, I mean, to lead that team to the playoffs with Joe Flacco off his couch, that there's something to be said there. Sean McDermott, that's another one. I'm looking through all these names here. I mean, Sean McDermott's been very consistent. There's a lot of the order of the list I don't necessarily agree with, and definitely, like you said, 2 or 3 names on this list should not. I mean, you can make an argument they're in the 20 to 30 range, maybe 25 to 30, 32. You know what I mean? I don't get it. I don't quite get some of these names on the list.
No, I completely agree. And I mean, speaking of Eberflus there with Justin Fields, how much does it make Mike Tomlin? You could flip a script with Mike Tomlin, and if Justin Fields has a good year, how much does Mike Tomlin look? He looks that much better. He just looks that much better because now Justin Fields is doing well, and it's like, oh, well, he couldn't do it in Chicago, but he's doing it here in Pittsburgh. What changed? Oh, we got a new head coach. Mike Tomlin's coaching him now. So it could also change that aspect of Mike Tomlin on that list too. But no Andy Reid, that's just atrocious. I mean, that already kills it. It kills it. I mean, he might not have to do much because he's got Patrick Mahomes, but still, I mean, he is a heck of a guy, and he keeps the locker room together. That's a big thing too. I mean, they were a mess last season. They were a mess. I was surprised they made the playoffs, and then all of a sudden they just turn it on. So there's a lot to say about that in the head coaching. But I got a question for you. If you had to guess, the NFL team with the most players that have been arrested. So they've been arrested. The NFL team with the most players arrested. If you had to guess, who would you guess is the number 1 team? Not really number 1, I guess. Kind of the not good number 1.
32nd almost, I know what you mean. Are we talking like this offseason or all time or what?
All
What's
time.
the
All time. Since 2000. Since the
okay?
year 2000.
This might come as a surprise to you, but I will take. Man. All right. I'll ask you this: is it a surprise or is it like, oh, I could see that?
You could maybe see it. It's an NFC team. It's an NFC team.
Oh, okay. That definitely. I have two teams on the right on the front of my mind there. I'm gonna go Dallas Cowboys though. I think it's Dallas.
Dallas Cowboys are middle of the pack. They're actually
Wow.
14th. The Dallas
I'll,
Cowboys are 14th on the list. They've had
I'll
30
tell you.
players arrested.
Okay, I'll tell you
The
my
number
number
one
one
team has
guess.
57 players that have been arrested.
Wow, I will tell you my number one guess was gonna be it's the Raider AFC. So I was gonna say Raiders. Just seems like they always have guys in trouble, but
That's just true.
you ruled that out with the NFC pick there. So
Do you got one? Do you got a guess? I'll give you this. NFC North. I'll give you NFC North. You got four to pick from. You got four to pick from in there.
I'll say Minnesota Vikings.
Bam. Minnesota Vikings have had 57 players arrested. Most arrests, so it could be multiple arrests by a person, right? Somebody could have been arrested.
I kid you not, though, man. I kid you not. That one did pop in my head like early on when we were like, it was one of those just gut feel. It was like my third or fourth pick, but so be it.
It's one that you didn't think about, but when you saw it, you're like, yeah, I could definitely see that as bad. I mean, they're the Vikings, right? They're natural raiders. That's just what they do. So, I mean, Vikings number one, Broncos number two with 56. Kansas City's had 41. The Bears have 35. Packers with 28 in there. Let's see, the Eagles, 22. They're actually bottom of the list. They're bottom four on the list. They're
Wow.
the Texans. The Texans are too new of an organization. They only got 17. Since 2000. They're new yet. They're new. They got to get their arrests in first, and then they'll climb the list here a little bit. But that was surprising. I mean, I just saw that list just before when I was scrolling around, and I was like, I like that list. It should proves to me that the Packers, they don't, we stay out of trouble. We just, control the NFC North until somebody tells me different. That's all I know. That's all I know off of that. So, getting off of the NFL, I'm going to stick football, though. Let's look at some college football. Because now we've seen the schedules get released. We haven't gone over them yet together, but we see the schedules get released there. We got the Badgers schedule. We have Penn State schedule. Let's look at them both because they cross each other's paths here on October 25th there. So we got to look at them both there. So Wisconsin, they open up the year with Western Michigan. Western Michigan's a scary team. I believe, didn't Western Michigan upset Michigan that year? Wasn't that Western? No, it was Appalachian State. That's right. It was right. Appalachian State that upset them there. Western Michigan still worries me, but I think the Badgers win that game. I'll be honest. I think they win that game to move to 1-0. You think the Badgers can pull off the Western Michigan win?
Yeah. Sorry, I just say that one more time. I cut off just at the very end of what you said there.
Badgers, Western Michigan. You think they can pull it off?
You're exactly right there. Back in that Appalachian State. I mean, you'll see that every once in a while. Not even the same team here, but no, I think Wisconsin handles them fairly easily at the very least, right? I mean, that should not be a shocker. I mean, we've seen it. Never say never. That's why they play the game. But no, they got it.
I'm hoping so. Because week 2, they got South Dakota. I feel like the Badgers start 2-0. They take care of the non-conference right there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you start at home. You get a feel for, the season. You get a feel for what's working, what's not. Yeah, you get those 2 out of the way. I'm looking at the schedule now, and I'm definitely going to be curious to see what you say.
It gets daunting after this. It gets daunting after the 2-0 start here, all right? So week 3 is Alabama. The good part about it, I guess, if there's any good silver lining is at Camp Randall. So you're going to have Alabama coming to Camp Randall to take on the Badgers. That's a good thing to have. I believe, honestly, I was looking at the rest of the schedule for that day. I truthfully believe College Game Day will be in Madison. I really do think they will, just because I feel like at that point, Wisconsin, they'll rank them. I think they'll rank them just so they have a ranked matchup in that one between Alabama. They love to do that. They'll just rank teams just to have them in a ranked matchup. I mean, you have Kellen DeBoer in his first year at Alabama coming from Washington. He's a proven head coach. So you're going to lose a step without Nick Saban, but how much of a step, right? You lose some recruits, you lose some transfers, but you gain some transfers along the way. Some guys from Washington come over, you get other transfers throughout. The recruits that were going to go to Washington, some of them end up at Alabama. So it's not like they lose a huge step there. I mean, yeah, you do. I mean, you lost Nick Saban, so you lose a pretty good amount there. This is going to be a tough game. I feel like the Badgers lose this one. I'll be honest. I feel like they lose this one. I would not be surprised if it was close. I would not be surprised if the Badgers somehow pulled off a close win too, because Camp Randall's different. I don't know, playing at the Horseshoe is different. Playing, your Penn State Nittany Lions when it's a whiteout, that's different. That's just a different kind of atmosphere. I really believe that if they put this stupid game at noon, it's going to irritate the crap out of me. This should be a game at Camp Randall under the lights. It always, the thing that always irritates me is like when Michigan and Ohio State would play. It'd be like number 2 in the country versus number 5, and it'd be on at like 11 o'clock in the morning. It's like, I don't want to wake up and watch this. I want to be prime time, 7 o'clock at night. I want to be turning on my TV, and there's Michigan and Ohio State. Like, and I know neither one of us likes Michigan and Ohio State, but those are two of your premier teams in the Big Ten. This is the best matchup of the day. Why is it on at noon? Why? It just baffles me every time. Make this your primetime game. You have that control. I tell you what, if I'm sitting there making a schedule, I know Ohio State's going to be good. They always are. I know they're going to be good. And I look at my schedule and I say, okay, Ohio State, who are they playing? Where are they going to be playing? Oh, they're playing Penn State. That probably could be a night game. Oh, they're playing Michigan. That should be a night game. The Badgers played Nebraska on NBC for a night game last season. They both stunk. They both were terrible. And yet this is our primetime game. I want to see the Badgers under the lights. In a good matchup. That was not a good matchup. I feel like this is going to be a tough game. I hope it's under the lights at Camp Randall. I feel like it's going to be close, and I feel like the Badgers could find a way to win it. But I don't know. I'm going to have the Badgers starting out 2-1 just because that game I feel like is just, it's going to be tough. It really will be tough, and I feel like they won't be battle-tested by then. They're going to have played Western Michigan and South Dakota. That's a tough, you play those two teams. It might help that they might have fresh legs, too, because they might just mop South Dakota, right? You hope they can mouse out. They're going to have a week to prepare for Alabama, but if you can get the starters out there in the fourth quarter against South Dakota, that also bodes well for you, too. So, I got a 2-1 start for the Badgers there.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's like I'm looking at Wisconsin last year, 7-6. No disrespect, like I don't want to crap on them, right? I'm not here to say, they're a trash team or whatever. Like I think Luke Fickell is something to prove this year. I will say that. Like coming off a 7-6 season, not ideal. I don't care where. Maybe if it's I'm trying to think of a horrible like Akron or something. I don't know, but like you want to improve upon 7-6, right? You don't want back-to-back 7-6 or something right around. Like you want to lose maybe 2-3 games after coming off a 7-6 year. Like that's a step in the right direction. That's a good step. So yeah, I know Saban's gone. I'm a big Saban guy. So we'll see if they take much of I just think their recruiting alone is far and above, Wisconsin, far and above Penn State, far and above your Michigan State, like whoever you want to lump into that kind of category of teams or whatever that the Big Ten has to offer. I do love the Big Ten. Whole different conversation we can have about the expansion of the Big Ten. But long story short, to wrap that up, I hope Wisconsin wins. I'll be pulling for Wisconsin. A Big Ten team that I have no hatred for whatsoever, but it's gonna be tough. I don't care if Brian Dable's coaching Alabama, it's Alabama. It's Alabama. I do like the fact that it's in Madison. That's definitely an advantage. If they were going to Alabama, I would probably give them basically no shot. But because it's in Madison, I do give them a decent shot. But I think this game probably, close in the fourth quarter, and then Alabama just pulls away. Maybe 10, hopefully like a 10-point game, no more than that. But I do think Alabama wins.
It's definitely going to be a tough one. It will be tough. So let's fly through it. Let's fly through it now. We got USC on the road. You're talking about the expansion. Here's the start of the expansion. The Badgers will be taking on USC on the road there. I'm going to give the Badgers the win. I think they go to the West Coast, and, there's no Caleb Williams anymore. They got a decent quarterback coming back. I think that game against Alabama truly gets this Badger team right. They finally see a team, right? A good team. They face a good team in Alabama. Then they head out and they take on USC. The lack of defense from these former Pac-12 teams, I think, is going to be the thing that bites them, right? They can get, if you want to get into a gunslinging, competition out there, USC's right there with you. Oregon's got a decent defense too, but they're going to have to change their ways coming into the Big Ten here. I think the Badgers take advantage of that on the West Coast. I think they pull off a win against USC and start 3-1.
Miller Moss, right? Miller Moss, the USC quarterback here.
Yep.
Don't know. I mean, I haven't seen enough of him. See, this one I go back and forth on because if Wisconsin can't slow them down, they're in trouble, right? Because I don't think they're going to be able to throw up 50 on them. Maybe though. I'll give. Unfortunately, I will have to go USC here. I think just after that Alabama game, it's going to be tough to flip the switch, and especially going out there. Unfortunately, I have to give them the loss here.
It'll be close. I think it'll be close no matter what happens out there on the West. I think Badgers will play close with Alabama and USC to get to. I think this is going to be the easiest stretch the Badgers will have in that season there. They're going to have Purdue, then Rutgers, then Northwestern. I think the Badgers win all three. Whether they start the season 5-2, 6-1, whatever it is, I think they win all three of those games right there.
See, I don't know how you guys play Purdue. Purdue always gives Penn State fits.
They give us a dog fight every single time.
They're never gonna
It's in Camp Randall, which helps. It's in Camp Randall, which is going to benefit the Badgers.
That's the only game in that stretch right there that concerns me. At least I think they roll Rutgers, even in East Rutherford, New Jersey. I think is where the Rutgers plays up. And then Northwestern had a down year last year. I don't know what they're projected to do this year, but I give Wisconsin. I'll go there with you. 3 straight wins there. I think that Purdue game could literally be a field goal type game. Just because everything I know about Purdue, they just play hard-nosed football. I respect Purdue. Definitely do. So that will be a fight. Rutgers, I think they'll kind of handle them relatively easily. And then Northwestern's a little bit of a wild card, but I still think Wisconsin. I trust Luke Fickell. I liked him at Cincinnati there. So
Yep.
I think this is a get right part of the schedule, just like you kind of touched on there.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're going into, let's just say you win one of those games, Alabama, USC. If you're sitting at 6-1 at this point in your schedule, you're still in the conversation for the college football playoff. I mean, one loss does not, all of a sudden knock you out anymore because of the expansion. You now 1-loss teams in the Big Ten, especially Big Ten, SEC. I've said, I could see 1, 2, 3 teams out of each one of those conferences being able to pull 3 teams just because they're going to beat each other up along the way there. So that sets up a huge matchup, and I'm glad it's not at Penn State. It is at Camp Randall for this one. I got to be honest. I mean, to me, I feel like these teams going into this next season they're pretty much evenly matched. I got to be honest with you. I think the defenses are about equal between Wisconsin and Penn State. Playmakers are right around the same. Chez Malusi returning at running back for the Badgers. They got decent running back room there with Wisconsin. They bring in Tyler Van Dyke out of Miami. Play quarterback. They still have Nick Evers in there. I mean, I think this is an even matchup. I think this one comes down to Franklin, Fickell. Who comes up with the better game plan going into this one? Because this is another one where I could see it if Penn State's ranked, if Wisconsin's ranked, if it's a 6-1 Wisconsin team taking on, I'm looking, I got Penn State's schedule pulled up here. They could also be sitting at 6-1 when they come and face Wisconsin. They could be sitting at 7-0 when they come in, 7-0 when they come and see Wisconsin there at Camp Randall. No, 6-0. They would be 6-0 at that point there. But, regardless, this could be a big matchup between these two teams. It could be under the lights. It could be a big noon kickoff, whatever it is. It could be a ranked matchup here going into this one. This one's going to be tight. You might see it differently, Penn State, Wisconsin, but I give it to Wisconsin just because, like I said, I feel like these teams are even. Penn State loves to give the Badgers fits, but something about Camp Randall. I feel like it holds that little bit of something extra, and I feel like in the new landscape that is college football between the Big Ten and the SEC, home field advantage is going to, it's going to hold so much because the conferences are overloaded. They have good teams left and right. So you got to win your games at home. I feel like the Badgers will come out with an edge in this one. Because of those 3 games in a row, I feel like they'll win. I think they'll beat Penn State in this game at Camp Randall.
Yeah, I gotta. I don't think you're far. Like, I'm not gonna say Penn State's gonna walk them by no means. Penn State very rarely walks a team unless they're garbage. Like, Rutgers, we can walk them. We can walk Maryland. We can walk Indiana. Those type of teams. But no, I definitely respect Wisconsin a lot more to say like this will be a blow. I don't see that at all. The interesting thing with Penn State this year, so kind of a glass half full, glass half empty type of way to look at this Penn State team. They bring in Andy Kotelnicki, Kansas head coach, as their offensive coordinator. This is now the 6th offensive coordinator in James Franklin's 10th year. So to me, the underlying problem is James Franklin, but no one wants to have that conversation. I'll go toe to toe with anybody that wants to defend James Franklin at this point. But I like I shouldn't say I like the change because I'm not sure if it was the offensive coordinator's problem before, but they haven't figured out how to use Drew Allar. Like we heard Drew Allar, this guy's going to be the next thing. And he plays good in every team, every game that's not a big game. It's like, I don't really care. So does the offense take a step forward? I tend to think they do. Kansas lit up people offensively, so
they were a pretty good program. Yep.
Yeah. So there's that positive going, but then you lose Manny Diaz, right? You lose Manny Diaz to Duke's new head coach. Love that guy. He's made their defense like it was top 3 in the country for a while. It was top 5 in the country. That defense was suffocating, and unlike I've seen Penn State play, Manny Diaz was super, super aggressive. Tom Allen's kind of the flip side of that. Indiana head coach Tom Allen. I wasn't. A lot of people are big on this move. I'm not a huge fan of this move. Any of these old school guys, I'm just like, man, kind of take him behind the shed and shoot him already. I don't necessarily want some old guy running my defense. I just don't think I'm not going to say they can't think on the fly. Like, yeah, you have your Nick Saban, like guys that are older in age and stuff like that. But Manny Diaz, younger guy, brought all these different blitz packages, like exotic stuff. Tom Allen's more of a passive-aggressive type of defensive scheme. So now how that's going to match up against Wisconsin, I'll be curious. So long story short, I think the offense is better. I think the defense takes a step back. I don't know. I feel like this could be a game of ground and pound for both teams at points in this game. We'll see how the weather shakes out, too, out there in Madison. But I'm going to give Penn State the win. I remember the last time Penn State and Wisconsin played, at least out there. It took Jaquan Brisker to pick off, I can't remember Wisconsin's quarterback. But he picked him off, I think, twice. Or I know he picked him off to basically seal
Sounds like a Wisconsin thing. Probably an Alex Hornerbrook or, I could go through a line of quarterbacks.
Shoot.
But, yeah.
I would know it if I heard it. But, that, like I said, that game took, the defense stepping up to make big plays down the stretch. Wisconsin was right in Penn State red zone, and then the interception came. So we could see something very similar. I do think Penn State wins this, but by no means will it be easy whatsoever.
I could see it. I mean, I could see it both ways. Like I said, this is going to be an even matched matchup, I believe, and it's going to be a James Franklin versus Luke Fickell. Who calls the better game? Who makes the
Don't like
best
that.
move? And who shows their cojones a couple times, right? You got to show you got the biggest cojones on the field. Who shows it on a 4th and 2? I think that could be the game changer in this one. So we'll fly through the rest of this fast here. We got Iowa on the road, Oregon at home, Nebraska on the road, Minnesota at home. Nebraska, they got new quarterback in there. I still don't trust Nebraska. I'm going to take a win versus Nebraska. I just feel like, bringing in a 5-star quarterback isn't going to fix everything. Like, you still got to – I'm not going to say that Nebraska is going to be a pushover. They're going to have a good team this year, but Nebraska is going to be a win, I believe. Minnesota will be a win. Iowa, that is always the worst. If you want to watch the slowest pace, crappiest football you've ever watched, tune in Wisconsin and Iowa, because the final score might be 12-6. That's just how it goes. One team's going to end up with 12, the other one's going to end up with 6. You don't know how you got there, but you got there. You could fall asleep, wake up, and nobody scored yet. Like, that's just how it goes there. But I got the Badgers winning that one. Oregon's tough. I hate this Pac-12 Big Ten crapola that they did this combo with now. It's at Camp Randall, right? I mean, I think a lot of Wisconsin's schedule is going to benefit them because it's at Camp Randall, but Oregon's tough. They're going to lose a game in this stretch. I feel like they lose to Oregon. I got them losing to Alabama. I got them losing to Oregon, and I'm going to take, honestly, within the stretch of USC through Northwestern, they're going to take a loss. I don't know who it is going to be. If they don't lose to USC, they're going to lose to somebody stupid, because that's what they do. They're going to lose to somebody stupid. They won't lose to Penn State. They'll beat them. They'll lose to, Purdue. They'll lose to somebody stupid, because that's how they love to play it. So I see the Badgers realistically 3 losses. I really do. Realistically, 3 losses. They're going to hover in that 3 to 4 range, 4 losses there.
Yeah, after Penn State, is Caden McNamara still I know he suffered that injury. Is he coming back for I think I did read that he's coming back for Iowa.
He's coming back, yeah. He's coming back.
Basically all you need to know about Iowa is hardly any offense whatsoever ever. And then a stout one of the best defenses in the Big Ten year in and year out. God almighty, that's tough. That's tough because I don't know how much after the 7-6 season, your Badgers, light years more than I do. But I don't know. I just don't know them well enough. I'm just looking at 7-6, and I'm like, do I trust them to go in? I think
the biggest thing you got to look at with Wisconsin is Luke Fickell's now you're getting into some full years now. So he's had his recruiting time. He's had his transfer time. So it's now, I compare it to, everybody always told me, because I gave up on Luke Fickell right away. They're like, wait for him to get his guys. Now he has his guys. So it's either going to go really well or they're going to get crapped on, right? It's going to go one of 2 ways now.
Man. I don't want to be a perfectionist here because I just don't know. I will say, because I picked them to lose against Penn State, I will say they go into Iowa, get 10, like you said, 10-8, 10-6, just ugliness, slop, crap, boring at times, just crappy win, but a win's a win. You come out of there with a win. Oregon, I do think Oregon beats them. I just can't see it where they slow them down enough to limit them to little points. So I do think Oregon finds a way to win. I think they beat Nebraska. I don't literally know anything about Nebraska. Penn State hasn't played them in quite some time, at least out there. So every time they play them at home, you roll them. I'll take them to beat Iowa, lose to Oregon, beat Nebraska, and I almost said beat Wisconsin, and then beat the Golden Gophers. That's another team. There's so many of these teams. It's are they just going to hover around 500? Like Minnesota. Are they going to be a 10-win team? I don't think so. Are they going to be a 7-win team? Probably. We just don't know. There's so many oddballs in the Big Ten that you don't even think about because it's such a top heavy. Now we'll see a little bit of differences with the Pac-12 coming in. But yeah, I think they beat they beat Iowa, lose to Oregon, and then win the last 2 of the year.
I could definitely see it. I mean, you're talking like 3 to 5 loss range. That's right where I'm at. 3 to 5 loss range. I feel like that's where it's going to be tough. The Big Ten is going to be a gauntlet. I'm going to be honest. And like, that's what I was saying. I could see 3 different teams from the Big Ten getting, bids into the college football playoff because Oregon beats Ohio State beats, let's just say Michigan beats, Oregon. Now you have this triangle and you got to figure out who's in this, it's just going to be, it's going to be really tough, honestly, to figure out who the heck's going to make the college football playoff now. So, Aaron, I think we're going to have to get to Penn State on the next show. On the next crossover, we got Penn State. I'm
just kidding.
So we went a while on that Wisconsin one there. We got the All-Star game coming up tonight here. So we got to get to the All-Star game here. We're already 41 minutes in. We got to get to the All-Star game here. So I want to look All-Star game starters quick and just, see what we think. See what we think of the All-Star game starters. So for the National League, we see Ketel Marte. We know the starters. This is going to be the batting order. This is going to be the lineup. We know the starters, even if the first one irritates me. We know the starters. We just didn't know the lineups. Here are the lineups for the All-Star game. So batting first, Ketel Marte. I hate that, but it's okay. Shohei Ohtani batting in the second spot. Trey Turner. A lot of people have some disgruntled feelings about Trey Turner being in the All-Star game. The numbers, yes. The time played with those numbers, different story. Trey Turner's in that third spot. Bryce Harper in the 4 at first base. William Contreras from the Brewers gets in there catching at that 5 spot, followed by Christian Yelich. That's pretty cool. You're going to have Contreras and Yelich back-to-back in the order exactly like they are when they play a game. Lineups for the Brewers, Contreras, Yelich, that's how it goes in the lineup. Here it is, the same thing in this one. So that's pretty cool for Brewer fans. Christian Yelich in right field. Alec Boehm will play third base in that 7 spot. Teoscar Hernandez in center field. Currently, we're watching the home run derby. He is, I believe unless if Bobby Witt hit one 425 feet. I don't know if he did. Teoscar Hernandez. Oh, he does have a bonus round, so we don't know yet. We'll get back to that. We'll get back to that here. Sorry about the pause there, folks. Bobby Witt hit one. I had to see how far it was going there. But Teoscar Hernandez will be the center fielder, and Jurickson Profar will be the left fielder batting ninth for the National League. There's not much to really yell about with the lineup, I guess. But is there any changes you would make to the lineup, I guess, for this All-Star game? Ketel Marte batting leadoff kind of irritates me. I don't know if I would have put him there, to be honest. The average isn't that great. The power is there, right? But then you could argue Alec Boehm or, honestly, Profar. He's batted over 300 the entire season for the Padres. Profar, he bats leadoff, I believe, for the Padres now at times. So that one I might have changed around. But any interesting. Trey Turner, too. Why is he batting in the 3 spot? Why is he not batting in the leadoff spot? That's weird. That's weird to me.
That was going to be my pick for lead. He's kind of your perfect leadoff hitter in a best case scenario. You're building the team on freaking MLB The Show. Trey Turner, leadoff hitter. He's got home run potential, but he can steal bags. He can run the bases well. He just kind of does everything well. So him being your leadoff hitter would make more sense. Honestly, I don't love Ohtani in the 2-hole. You want that guy up with people on base. Why not put him as I'd rather him clean up than I know Harper's a great cleanup hitter. He's another guy that, hey, put him in the cleanup hole. It just makes sense. I get that. I'm not arguing that point at all. I think you could interchange Harper and Ohtani. Maybe put Harper right where Yelich is, maybe have Yelich at 4 or 5. You can interchange all those guys right there, and it would work very well. I think. Alec Boehm's hitting a little bit lower than I kind of like, but it's the All-Star lineup. You can't butcher it too well. I would say just have Ohtani come up with more people on base because at any point he can make you hurt. You know what I mean? He can hit the home run. He can hit the double down the line. He's that type of threat every single time at the plate. So that's that, and the leadoff spot, the 1-2 spots, I would definitely mess around with that and change that up a little bit.
Talking about power hitters in the lineup, and there's nobody that's like your traditional cleanup guy. If you really look at it, as we see Bobby Witt just miss. Teoscar did win it. Son of a gun. That just missed. That just missed. Son of a. We'll talk about the home run derby here in a second. But, I mean, honestly, look at it like you think about your power hitters from the past, Prince Fielder, and, you could go way back, Albert Pujols, and guys like that, where you're like, those are my traditional power guys. It's different now, right? I mean, Bryce Harper, he hits bombs. I'm not going to say he doesn't hit nukes, right? The guy hits bombs, but it's not your traditional big fella, right, in your cleanup spot. Same with Ohtani. He hits bombs, but it's not your traditional cleanup hitter. So I thought that was kind of interesting to look at. A little bit of a flip side when you look at the American League, because there's a lot of power hitters in that American League lineup. Stephen Kwan in the leadoff spot. That leadoff makes sense. He's been like 350, 360 yet. He's been on a tear all season long. So that leadoff makes sense. Gunnar Henderson, I got to be honest, if you had a lineup with Stephen Kwan and Gunnar Henderson back-to-back, that would be deadly. That's like a potent top of the lineup right there. So Gunnar Henderson will bat second and play short. Juan Soto in the third spot playing right field. Aaron Judge playing center field. Yordan Alvarez batting, and he's going to be in the DH spot. Jose Ramirez, third base. Vlad Guerrero Jr., first base. Adley Rutschmanson at catcher. And Marcus Semien will play second base. There isn't much I would change. I mean, you could maybe interchange Adley with Vlad, or maybe even move Adley up to the sixth spot and drop everybody back one. Maybe the 6, 7, 8 could change for your lineup. But, I mean, outside of that, I really can't argue with Kwan in the leadoff spot. Gunnar is your power/contact guy. He's your number 2 hole. And then Juan Soto, Aaron Judge, Yordan Alvarez. I'll be honest with you. I look at the NL and I look at the AL. The AL, to me, and you can touch on this too after you diagnose the lineup, but, I mean, the AL to me is just filled with, RBI power guys. I mean, from Gunnar Henderson down to, God, you could go all the way down to Rutschmanson. I mean, you could go all the way down to Adley with that and say their lineup is just power hitter after power hitter, where the NL is like contact. Like the NL is extra base hit dudes. Looking at the AL, it's like, we're going to hit bombs. Like, that's what we're here for. We're going to hit bombs. So, I mean, looking at the AL, what do you see that maybe you would change, if anything? And then, I mean, looking at the two lineups, which one do you think's got the better lineup?
Yeah, seeing the Orioles trot out Gunnar every day at leadoff, I wouldn't have a problem with them hitting him second, honestly, because, at least you have one guy on base if he hits a home run, right? And Kwan, perfect leadoff type of hitter, right? Prototypical leadoff hitter, contact guy. Other than that, I almost would. I don't know. Yordan Alvarez is such a threat. That guy is just, he can hit a home run at any at bat. He's just such a wild card as far as you got to fear that guy. But you Judge as your cleanup is kind of like the perfect storm too. So I can't really argue that. It's just no, I'm okay with. The more I think about it, because I want a guy like that, like Yordan, coming up with Kwan or Henderson or Soto or those guys on any of those guys, a combination of those guys. So I guess I would keep it like that. Other than that, yeah, Jose. I really don't have necessarily a problem with this. Vladdy to me is just I don't know. I get it, but he's so inconsistent that I'm I might bat him last, honestly. That's a hot take. That's probably not what most people want to hear, whatever, but he's so hot and cold type of hitter that if he goes 0 for 1, he'll go 0 for 3. It's just, or he'll go 3 for 3. It's just with him, it's just so unpredictable. So yeah, it's fine. It's a stout lineup. Looking at them both, they do kind of match up well. If you look at, I'm looking, directly at NL and AL. It kind of, if it makes sense. Yeah, it's. We haven't touched on pitchers, which I know you will.
So yeah, you got to, right? You got to touch in on it. The NL All-Star starter will be Paul Skeens, and this. I don't know how to feel about it, if I'm honest with you. Stat-wise, great. Like, his stats have been great. He's been pitching. He's been the best pitcher in baseball since he's come up. You can't deny that. Has he been doing it for the longest? No. Like, Wheeler's been pitching consistent all season. Suarez, same thing. Chris Sale, same boat. Like, Chris Sale, I would honestly have put Chris Sale just because that is the greatest story in baseball. You could have looked at Chris Sale a couple years ago and said, this dude is done. This dude has nothing left. Like, he's Dallas Keuchels right now. The Brewers got him for $1 and then DFA'd him. Like, you could have said Chris Sale was going along those lines. And now he's pitching up to the caliber where he could be a potential. I don't want to venture into the Cy Young conversation, but I'm going to venture into the Cy Young conversation. He could be in that conversation after, people thinking he was completely done. Like, that's ridiculous. So I don't know. I would have put him in there. The AL side of it, Corbin Burns, that hurts. That hurts a lot of bit. That hurts a lot of bit to see 9-4 with a 2.43 ERA and 110 strikeouts already. Like, you can't really deny him being the all-star starter there for the AL. That's downright impressive in its own right. It's definitely helped the Orioles get to that first place here at the All-Star break. So, I mean, I got to be honest, the thing that irritates me most with Paul Skeens is that every day when I look at social media, it is Livy Doon and Paul Skeens. Here we go. What are they doing today? I don't care. I really don't care. Like, today I went on social media and it's like Livy Doon and Paul Skeens heading to the All-Star game. Great. So is Christian Yelich. So is William Contreras. Bryce Harper was heading down that way. Alec Boehm was heading that way. Teoscar Hernandez. I can go through a list of everybody who was on their way. Did I get a picture? Did I get a picture of that? Oh, Christian Yelich and his wife or his mom or whoever were on a plane together. Did I get a picture of that? No, we don't care. But if Livy Doon and Paul Skeens are on a plane, yay. I'm just supposed to get excited. Just supposed to be all pumped up. It's the Taylor Swift of the MLB. It is Taylor Swift of the MLB, and it is getting irritating already. It is getting irritating to the point where I hope he gets lit up. I hope that Gunnar Henderson, I've talked a lot of crap to Aaron about his boy Gunnar Henderson. I hope that Quan gets on and Gunnar sends him deep. Like, after getting completely just annihilated in the home run derby, I hope that he sends Paul Skeens like 450 feet to dead center and just, gives him the greatest showboat as he's rounding the bases. That would make my day. I would shut it off. I wouldn't even care anymore. I would shut it off so fast because I'd be like, yep, day made. Done.
I mean, hey, I would love to see it too. Don't get me wrong. I keep going back and forth with this, and I've told you this a million times. Like, I like it for baseball that the fact that they have a guy that they're kind of blowing it up. Like, baseball needs a guy, and especially, playing for Pittsburgh, who in the HE double hockey sticks would have thought, right? Who would have thought that a guy from the Pirates is getting so much buzz, publicity? Like, I know he's the number one pick. He's a pitcher. He's just balling out. Like, if he wasn't balling out, nobody'd hear this guy. Like, you'd be like, oh, well, will he be anything? Is this guy a wasted draft pick? Like, he's balling out. Tip my cap to him in that respect. But yeah, it's like you said, social media is running with this. It's getting a little nauseating. I don't care about. His girlfriend? Hey, nice to look at. I'm just being honest. But like, other than that, I don't care about. Like, Paul Skeens seems like an Andrew Luck type of guy, and no personality. This guy is just bland. He's oatmeal with no flavor. It's just like, whatever, dude. But he's doing good. He's pitching the All-Star game. I don't love that either. Like you said, Chris Sale definitely could have had the nod. Ranger has struggled really bad lately, so I would have been fine if they deferred out of Ranger and they would have went Zach Wheeler, Chris Sale. Either one of them guys. I think those two are the ones that come to mind. But like I said, if it's good for baseball, I'll suck it up. He plays for the Pirates. I don't hate the Pirates, so it's fine with me. It's just it's going to be, especially in like the pregame shows, how much are we going to hear Paul Skeens? It's just like, dude, he's having one, half of a really good rookie season, but like these people that are already trying to put him in the Hall of Fame, let's pump the brakes, man. This might be the only All-Star team he makes in the next 3 years. You just don't know. It's so early on. Yes, he's balling out now, but we'll see. We'll see long term.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, good for baseball. You almost feel for guys like Zach Wheeler and Chris Sale who have been doing it for a while. And it's not like they're going to pitch. Paul Skeens is going to pitch like an inning, right? And then he's going to get pulled, and then we're going to see the next guy. So it's like, is it the biggest deal in the world? No, but it is a prestigious thing, right? And I feel like Chris Sale has pitched well. I mean, great this season that he would deserve, just some recognition with that. You'll see Paul Skeens eventually. Nobody, it could have batted an eye at the portion that he was even in the All-Star game. But nobody said anything. Everybody was okay with that. Now he's the starter, so that changes the perspective on it there. But definitely, if you want to look at talent-wise, he probably is the guy to put in there for it. I mean, it's going to be a heck of a matchup. I can't wait to see Burns, Skeens there for, one inning, but that's a heck of a one-inning matchup there between those two guys. So, I mean, with that, let's get real fast. We're running long on time today. We're running long on time here. So let's look over quick at the division races, the MLB standings. Let's look where it kind of finished up there at the All-Star break. Skim through it fast. Any surprises, anything, that we saw. We're going to look at the American League first. We can skim through that, and then we can get into the National League, get into the meat of things there with the NL East and the NL Central there. So looking at the American League East there, Orioles, they finished number one in the division there to end that first, before pre-All-Star break is like what I like to call it there. 58-38, they lead the Yankees by a game, and the Red Sox have actually played their way back into it. That's impressive. I did not see the Red Sox. Kudos to Kyle Edwards from Chopping on the Bit podcast. Kudos to his Boston Red Sox there. I would have never guessed that I'd be saying that at this point. But you look at the division there, who's the hottest team leading into the All-Star break? It was the Boston Red Sox. 7-3 in their last 10 games. The Orioles were 3-7 going into the All-Star break. The Yankees were 4-6. The Tampa Bay Rays were 5-5. The Toronto Blue Jays 5-5. I know you hate the Blue Jays. I am just so surprised that they've stunk this bad. Like, it's just so surprising. I mean, I know you're here for it. I know you are, but I mean, honestly, like where that team was trending just a couple years ago, Vlad coming up and Bo Bichette and Biggio, and they had, they had this pretty good lineup, getting put together and some decent pitching, and just to see it kind of all fall apart was definitely interesting there. So, I mean, the American League East, kind of what I figured. I mean, to start the year, the Orioles and Yankees would battle it out for the top. We'd have the Red Sox in third. I did not expect the Rays to be a 500 team. The Rays always find a way to put something together. They have, been better as of late. They started out real bad. They've been better as of late. And then the Toronto Blue Jays wrapping it up there. I mean, any surprises there, AL East-wise?
I mean, it was looking like the Yankees were going to not go off the races, but I thought the Orioles were going to have to chase them. I mean, if the Orioles play like they did in the last 3 games in the second half, you might even play yourself out of a freaking playoff spot. It's been atrocious. I could go into a million reasons why, but we won't do that here. But it's I mean, I am a little bit surprised. As bad as the Yankees have played over the last month, the Orioles have almost matched them. They've just played just not good whatsoever. They got swept by, your favorite team, the Cubs here. A couple, a series or two ago. And then they dropped 2 or 3 to the Yankees. It took a miracle walk-off on Sunday, and Verdugo made a bonehead play after Volpe's bonehead play. Love to see that. I'm absolutely living for that. Gives my life purpose to see the Yankees mess up. But it's, I mean, I'm not shocked, but the way the Yankees started, I was definitely fearful. And Kyle from the Chomping at the Bit knows I was panicking. But now, I mean, I'm a little bit panicking about the Red Sox. I mean, the Red Sox are playing with just they run the bases, so they're a fundamentally sound team, and they started the year so not fundamentally sound, making errors, throwing the ball all over the place. Now they're playing good defense. Like I said, running the bases well. Boston is a threat. So I hope the Orioles hang on to this division, but any 3 of those top teams, I give a very good shot to. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't write off the Rays yet for a wild card spot. I mean, they're 500, but I never write the Rays off from a playoff spot. It seems like in the second half of seasons they always play well. So wouldn't be shocked if they're able to at least be competitive more so than 500 in the second half.
They'll find a way. They'll find a way to play themselves back. This division is it's a race right now. It is definitely heating up now that Boston's finding their stride. And the Rays, 10 games back, they're within shouting distance. They're not quite there, but they're within shouting distance. The AL Central has surprisingly been competitive all the way across the league. And the Guardians, if I had told you they would have had the best record in the AL at this point in the season, I think you would have laughed at me. But they have the best record in the American League at this point in the season, 58-37. They're actually, one less loss than the Baltimore Orioles is all that shook out there. So the Cleveland Guardians in first there, Twins in second, Royals in third. The Tigers been playing some competitive baseball, but playing in that 4th spot right now. And then the White Sox, that is the least competitive crap that I've seen out of a baseball team in a very long time. So, nothing really surprises me, I guess. I guess I would say the Tigers, they've been, -7 in the run differential. Some people look at that as terrible. They've, been playing some competitive games, and that's all you can ask out of a team that's rebuilding, right? The Kansas City Royals, I feel like they're kind of still ahead of the times. They're not quite there with their rebuilds, so they're still working their way back. And then the Twins and the Guardians, I feel like they're the most ready-to-go teams. The only team that I'd say would be the Guardians, as good as they've been. I expected them to be at the top, if not second, at the top of the division. I just did not expect them to have the best record in the American League.
Yeah, we'll see come postseason time. I always kind of write off that AL Central team. We saw the Guardians go to the or when they were the Indians, I guess, go to the World Series, against your beloved Cubbies again. But yeah, I just, once that, whatever team wins that division, I'm like, they're losing in the playoffs. Like, it's just, they're not going, like, you can almost write that in, unfortunately. I don't mind the Guardians whatsoever. I just don't know how, I know these records look great. It's just, if you're playing, and I know they don't play the division as much as they used to, but they are beating up on, I kind of told you from the start, I'm not a believer in this Kansas City team yet. It's going to take, I just think they'll falter in the second half and they'll come out with a worse record than they have now. And I won't be surprised. I just don't think they have the ammunition there. Not to say they're a dumpster fire. They're just not very good. They're just, you know what I mean? So
yep.
The Tigers were playing a lot better earlier in the season, but now I see they're 8-2 in the last 10. I just, once again, that's another team like the Royals. They just don't have that much there. It's just not that much talent. Not nearly enough. And the Twins, I do never count out in that division. They seem to be at least a mainstay as far as a consistency is concerned. Correa is actually having a great year, surprisingly. Really quietly, actually, too, because he plays for the Twins and no one really cares about the Twins. But it's, tip my hat to the Guardians. Maybe they prove me wrong in the playoffs, but they have a good regular season going. It's just what will they do from there?
Agreed with you there. So the AL West is like a flip your script from the AL Central from years past, because this is the crap division that could potentially end up being good at one point. That's what I'm going to say. It could be good. There could be a good team to come out of this. It's the team in the second spot right now, I'll be honest with you. The Seattle Mariners are in first, 52-46. The Houston Astros are 1 game back of the Mariners in that 2 spot right now. The Texas Rangers, 5 games back, and then we have the Angels, 10 games. I feel like they're donezo, and so are the Athletics, 15 games back. As much as I want to see the Athletics win, I just got that bad feeling that we've seen their peak this year, and it was about that 3, and they had 3 wins at one point. They were sitting at a positive record for a little bit, and then it all went south. Realistically, if there's a team in here that I could see giving other teams fits, I see the Houston Astros. Honestly, they were just waiting for the pitching staff to get healthy, and then, Jordan to start hitting, and everything was going to be fine. And they've got that. They've got the pitching staff slowly coming back. Verlander, they're going to get McCullers back later on, right? McCullers is going to come back. They're going to load back up, and I feel like they're going to be back to what we remember with the Houston Astros. So I see the Astros overtaking the Mariners for first place. I don't see the Mariners as a threat. Julio Rodriguez has not been the guy that we remember from last season there. He has not been that guy yet. Maybe he changes. Maybe he flips the switch on in the second half. I don't know. But until that happens, the Mariners are out of it for me. The Rangers are, I don't know. I mean, they're still in it. That's the thing, is that this AL West is like the opposite of the AL East. Like, the West is bad, but teams are close. The AL East is good, and the teams are close. Like, this is the exact opposite of close. Like, they're just that bad that the Rangers are hanging around, and the Angels are only 10 games back, right? I mean, you're talking about a team who's 41-55, and they're 10 games back of first place. Like, you look at the AL East, and the Tampa Bay Rays are 500, and they're 10 games back. Like, that's just the difference between those two divisions. So, I mean, honestly, I would say the surprise of the first half would be the Astros struggling so much out the gates, but that has a lot to do with the injuries that they had early on. So I could see I'm going to say the Astros are going to overtake it. They will finish in first in that division.
Yeah, I've like to say I'm a skeptic of the Mariners ever like actually doing much. I just don't. I mean, they made the playoffs last year. They're trending in the right direction. They have been but they're like the Blue Jays to me. They're the AL West Blue Jays. They could have all the pieces in the world. They just find a way to screw it up. And like they have a stout pitching staff, like George Kirby. Shoot, I forget that Spanish guy who's really good on that team. He bounced around a couple places. I wanted that guy on my team, but anyways, like they always have a stout pitching staff, or at least the last couple of years.
Castillo.
But like you said, Castillo, yeah, Luis Castillo, yeah, yep. But yeah, I mean Julio Rodriguez, like they just don't score runs. They don't really score runs. Ty France is a good hitter on that team, but yeah, they don't have enough. It's just not enough there. I mean, back in the day, you could probably win more so with pitching, but now the league, the rule changes, the pitch clock, like you're seeing more.
Aaron had technical difficulties on the back side of that. So, I mean, yeah, like Aaron was saying there, the Mariners, they've had their struggles this season here scoring runs. So that's a big thing that we see with the Mariners right now, why we say the Astros will overtake that first spot, or the Astros will overtake that first spot there, and it will be a struggle for the Mariners to keep pace with the Astros here in the second half. Looking at the National League, looking over on that side of it there, and seeing the NL East right now, we see the Phillies up there at the top right now. They lead that division by 8.5 games. We see the Braves coming in that second spot there. We see the Mets coming in third, the Nationals in that 4 spot, and the Marlins coming in the 5 spot right now. Marlins, I mean, you can mathematically eliminate them from the race there. Aaron had some technical difficulties there on the backside of that. But, I mean, looking at this NL East right now, the Phillies, they're your outright. You look at them, best team in the National League right now by a stretch right now over the Dodgers. So, Aaron will be back on. I've been getting notifications from him there. He's been texting me, telling me he's going to be back on there. I don't know what the heck happened on the backside of there, but had some technical. His mic all of a sudden just went out, and then it was a disaster on his end, I guess, there. So he will be right back, but we're going to touch more into the NL East when he comes back there. But I'm going to look NL West right now. Dodgers, Diamondbacks, Padres, Giants, Rockies. Kind of how we saw it shaking out. I mean, honest with you, Dodgers, there's Aaron. He's back. He's back on. Had some issues with the mic there, but he is back now. So we're good. We're good to go here. I touched in the NL East just a little bit there, but I flipped script, went NL West. Basically what we saw happening, Dodgers, Diamondbacks, Padres, Giants, Rockies. I mean, for the most part, what we saw happening. I mean, Dodgers, they're one of the best teams in the game of baseball right now. The lineup's loaded. Looking at the Diamondbacks, that's a team that went to the World Series last year. They got young pieces yet. The pitching staff's been working through it. Giants, they've had some setbacks here. Padres, they can never figure it out. It seems in the Rockies. Well, they're the Rockies. They hang out there at the bottom of the cellar there. So I guess NL West. Any surprises? Any surprises in the NL West?
No, not so much. I mean, I think you were kind of high on the Diamondbacks. I was a little bit of a skeptic there. I'd like to see them do well. It's just I don't know. It's tough. I mean, the Dodgers. It's hard to compete with that team, right? Like the pitching staff, the line. It's a lot to go up against. So yeah, not surprised. I mean, to say the Diamondbacks and the Padres there, like neck and neck. I mean, I thought the Diamondbacks would be a little bit better, but then you kind of look at the roster. I mean, the Padres have a great roster. It's just like you said, they never seem to put it together. So, and then that Giants team, they kind of just are forgotten about now because they don't really compete lately. I don't know what's gonna have to change there, but they're just not a great team right now.
Yeah, I completely agree. I completely agree across the board there. I touched in the NL East, the standings there. I mean, Phillies are the best team in the NL. Braves, it is actually crazy to see how well they've stuck it out after losing Acuna and Strider there, how well they've played. So that's been impressive. The Mets have been the Mets this year, but they're surprisingly plus in the run differential. They're surprisingly hanging 3 games above 500. That's been impressive in that own standpoint. The Nationals still I believe a couple years away from being back there in the NL East. And the Marlins, I seriously can't believe how much they've sucked this year, to be honest. But the Marlins hanging out there at the bottom of that division. And you don't want to mathematically eliminate them from the race already. But 29 games back against a Phillies team who has been just rolling, and a Braves team's in there too. That seems impossible to come back.
Yeah, I mean, people are saying that they will make the play. Like, if the season ended today, they would make the playoffs. The Mets would, which is kind of. I mean, it is shocking the way they started. They were just dead in the water. I mean, Frank the Tank was just losing his mind every single day. I don't really blame him, just because they were playing so bad. But yeah, the Mets. I mean, credit to them. I think they're doing the most they can right now as far as like with what they got. They don't have much, honestly. Losing Verlander, losing Scherzer, and then, Edwin Diaz gets injured. Now he's back. He hasn't been the same. I think he's hurt again. I can't remember. Like, there's just so much going on with that team, and to weather the storm there, more power to them. And like you said, the Braves, I mean, the Braves they've skipped a beat for sure without those guys because they're the 2 best players on the team. But, in a playoff spot, I don't think they catch the Phillies. The Phillies are a gauntlet so far. But, yeah, I mean, I thought the Nationals would be a little better. I guess maybe I'm expecting them to be a little, further along with this rebuild type thing they got going on. But I mean, they're not horrible. 7 games under 500 for a team that I couldn't even hardly mention anybody. I think the shortstop was an all-star reserve. But yeah, I mean, and then like you said, the Marlins are just it is puzzling. It's been a while since I've seen them that bad. Usually they're 500 hovering team, like they're right there with the Nationals and the Mets record similar to that, but they are just at 33 wins, they are real bad. So
yeah, you just mentioned the Mets there. Mathematically, they would be the 6th seed. They'd have the 6th spot in the playoffs right now, according to standings wise. The Phillies, Dodgers, and Brewers would be the top 3. Braves, Cardinals, Mets, and then Diamondbacks would be the 7. And then technically Padres be the 8th, but I don't believe they're doing that formats anymore, so they wouldn't get in. But they're right behind them there. That tells you how crappy the division. 49 and 46 would get you the 6th spot. Wowza. So that leads us into our last division there, and that is the NL Central, and that is led by the Brewers, who scuffled mightily going into the All-Star break, just like the Orioles did there in the AL East there, 3-7. Going into the All-Star break there. They're followed by the Cardinals, who are ever so close once again. 4.5 games back. The Pirates, 6.5 games back. The Cincinnati Reds, 8 games back. And the Chicago Cubs, 8.5 games back. I tell you what, this is the most competitive division in baseball. I would tell you that. They might not, I'm not going to say they have the best teams in baseball. I'm not going to say that, but I'm going to say competitive-wise, this division race, the Cubs are 7-3 in their last 10 games. They're 8.5 games back of first place. Like, that's within shouting distance and then some to the Brewers. There is going to be a lot of movement yet I hope not with the Brewers. I hope that they continue to hold out that first spot. But there is going to be a lot of movement between this division yet. I mean, the Cardinals are scaring me. They're definitely scaring me. They're in that 2 spot. They're finding their own on the way. Pirates, I feel like they'll fizzle out. Pitching staff can only do so much. Brian Reynolds can only do so much. They're going to have to find some more bats. So I feel like the Pirates will fizzle out. The Reds, I feel like they're going to fizzle out once again. I love that the Cubs are at the bottom, but man, the Cubs are finding it again. I did see the other day Jim Edmonds completely just like ripped on Christopher Morel from the Cubs there. He had a home run, and he kind of showboated it. It was the second of the day. And Jim Edmonds goes, Christopher Morel's celebration is a joke. I don't mind saying it at all. I've never seen anything like that. You're a 229 hitter and you're running around like you're Barry Bonds. I thought that was hilarious there.
I watched that back a couple times though, because I did see that too, and I was like, he admired it and he got a little bit excited, but it's like, I don't know. See, Jim Edmonds reminds me of that guy, like, get off. And he's probably because it's a Cub, right? But it's like, are these guys not supposed to have fun? Like, you know what I mean? Like, the A's beat the Phillies. I think it was 18-3. The game right before the All-Star break here, I guess just yesterday. Losing track of time. But, like, a couple of their guys hit, a couple of guys hit multiple home runs in the game. And, like, they pimped them. They watched them. And I'm like, dude, at the end of the day, like, as long as you're not, like, going completely crazy. Like, I was like, Jim Evans, relax. Like, he's, like, saying, oh, he's a 229 hitter and da-da-da. It's like, dude, let the guy enjoy it a little bit. Like I said, I don't think the guy went over the top. I mean, we've seen guys go over the top, and I'll call it how I see it, in my opinion. But I was like, just like Jim Edmonds, you sound like a grumpy old man. Like, we all know you don't play anymore, okay? And, like, I was reading the comment section, and people were like, oh, man, if Jim Edmonds was just as good of a commentator as he was a player. So, apparently, as a commentator, people don't necessarily love Jim Edmonds. But, I mean, to each their own. I was just like, man, like, that, just digging into the guy, like, a little unnecessarily, I thought. But, yeah, you bring up this division. It is tight. It is tight. The Cardinals there hanging around. And trying to take your, I want you to just take your Brewers hat off for a second. How realistically is it that the Cardinals, I'm not going to say win the division, but, like, it's an arms race. Like, it's, like, down to the wire. You're talking, like, you know, the last 10 to 14 games, you're, like, kind of looking over your shoulder, like, we're in trouble. Like, this is questionable. I'll say that. Because I have trust in Brewers have been a damn good team this year, but the Cardinals are kind of they're sneaky, right? Like, no one's talking about them, no one's giving them attention. I still think the Brewers edge them out, but what are your thoughts on that?
The biggest thing for me I look at is the Brewers have done this and Devin Williams hasn't played. Like, the Brewers haven't had their all-star closer this entire time. That is an automatic couple wins just right there with Devin Williams. Because Trevor Megill, and I'm not going to say Trevor Megill hasn't done fantastic being the closer for the Brewers, because he has. But Devin Williams comes back, he's closing games. That moves Trevor Megill back to a setup man. That moves Brian Hudson back to the 7th inning. That moves, you're going to have Jared Koenig coming back off injury. He's got a 1 ERA on the season. He's usually an opener. That can move him into more of a 6th inning, 5th inning guy. It moves the bullpen. So now your bullpen has more arms, right? You don't have to rely on some of your unreliable arms most nights. Most nights. You have that ability to go with, Jared Koenig in the 6th, Brian Hudson in the 7th, Trevor Megill in the 8th. Now you have Devin Williams in the 9th. It just changes the game. I believe it truthfully does. Now, if I look at these two teams stacked up, there's factors. There's factors to me. Number 1, can Christian Yelich keep on the torrid pace he's been on? Number 2, can William Contreras start to hit that 300 average? Can he stay around 286, 300? Can he stay there? Can he stay at that pace? Can Rhys Hoskins get the bat going? That's a big thing. That is a big thing that hinges this entire season. Can Rhys Hoskins get it going? Because Adames is streaky. Can Rhys Hoskins be that level-headed dude who can bat 250 for the Brewers and consistently give you about 2 home runs a week? Can he do that? That's what we're waiting to see. We haven't seen it yet, but maybe the All-Star break changes that. Looking at the rest of the lineup, how well do the rookies continue? Not the rookies, but the second-year guys. How well do they continue to play? Terang, Frelick. Mitchell just came back. He had a home run there in that last game out before the All-Star break against the Nationals. Does that change him? Does that flip the script with him? Jackson Chourio, he's been hot in the month of June. Into July, does that carry? Does he keep hitting like he is? I mean, it's hingent on guys staying hot and guys getting hot for the Brewers there if they're going to be able to maintain this torrid pace that they've been on. I'm not saying they have to get, all bat 300. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is consistent bats. One night Adames might be off. Can Rhys Hoskins figure it out then? Can Yelich stay consistent with it? That's where I'm going to hinge this on. The starting pitching is the starting pitching, right? You're only going to be able to fix it so much. You're only going to be able to fix it so much at this point. You might bring in an arm or two, right? I don't see the Brewers spending a lot or trading a lot of pieces away to find starters. So, long story short there, realistically, do I see the Brewers staying at the top? If I had to go lineup to lineup right now, yes. I'll be honest. Just because Paul Goldschmidt, and honestly, you look at Paul Goldschmidt, 230 average, he hasn't been able to figure it out. And Nolan Arenado has been solid at 270, but you look at the home run numbers, 8 home runs for Nolan Arenado. That's not Nolan Arenado. So those guys stay down. Brewers continue to roll like they have. That changes it, right? Because if you look at the Cardinals pitching, I feel like they have the better arms. With Sonny Gray, Kyle Gibson, they have some better arms in there. Miles Michaelis has been a good arm in the past. But the Brewers, they find ways. Do I believe that the Brewers are going to go and walk to the World Series? Not a chance. I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk. Do I believe that they can make the playoffs with constructed how they are? Yes, because I believe Pat Murphy as a manager, for some reason, this team buys in and they just roll it. I don't know what it is. They've bought into what Pat Murphy has to tell them, and they're just gritty. They find ways, and they find ways to do it. The pitching staff is going to hinge a lot of this season, but if the bats can stay hot, I feel like it takes a lot of pressure off the pitching staff. So I see the Brewers. I feel like they can finish the race. I really do feel like they can finish the race here and win the NL Central.
Will it be close like the last 2 weeks, or will it be?
Oh, 100%. 100%. Okay. This is going to be like a 1 or 2 game, it's going to be 1 or 2 games that is going to hinge this entire season. Honestly, I was just going to check out the schedule there to see when the Brewers face the Cardinals second half. They see them in September 2nd through the 4th, and then they don't see them again for the rest of the season. The record, division could come down to that series right there. If the Brewers beat them up, if the Cardinals beat them up, that could be the 1, 2, 3 games. The swing in the whole thing. Because, after that, the Cardinals have a relatively easier stretch, I believe. They have the Mariners after that, then the Reds, then Toronto, then Pittsburgh, but then they play the Guardians, then Colorado and San Francisco to wrap it up. So, the Colorado, San Francisco to wrap it up, I feel like that bodes well for the Cardinals there. And then I was just going to check out the Brewers' second half schedule there. Looking down late in the year, they're going to see St. Louis. Then they play the Rockies and the Giants, so they flip a script there and play those two first out of the bat after that game. But then they have the Diamondbacks, the Phillies, then they have the Diamondbacks again, then they have the Pirates, and then they have the Mets. Those teams right there, the Diamondbacks, the Phillies, the Pirates, and the New York Mets, I could see 3 of those teams playing for a playoff spot. If the Mets keep playing like they have been as of late, the Diamondbacks there in the NL West, and, the Phillies most likely will have the division locked up by then, I would, if they keep going at this pace. But, the Brewers have the toughest schedule between those 2 teams down the stretch. And it's going to be tough. So I really feel like that last series the Brewers have with the Cardinals, though it is not the last series of the season, could be a big deciding factor on what happens the rest of the way.
Yeah, after you mentioned that Cardinals schedule, it's like, I'm not going to say it's I'm not giving them the necessarily the edge. It makes things more interesting, right? And like a team we really didn't touch on, the Reds. Like I think I don't know. I can't speak for Reds fans or how that organization feels how this season has gone, but you kind of have to feel it's a little bit disappointing. I mean, I know they're not properly constructed to like win the division. I wouldn't say in any way, but like you would think they'd be a little bit better as Pittsburgh has kind of jumped. Like they keep jumping each other there. Like it goes back and forth. Reds, Pirates, Reds, Pirates. But I don't know. I mean, 47-50. Obviously, the Cubs are like kind of the shocker and to your pleasant surprise, I'm sure. But it's I mean, this is a two-team race unless barring something crazy. Like I really don't have trust in the Pirates. Like you said, they'll fizzle out. I mean, Paul Skeens could go 12-0, and they still will find ways to lose other games that he doesn't start. So, and then the Reds, I really think the Reds will completely go to the wayside at some point. I honestly think the Cubs will maybe leapfrog both those teams at some point in the second half. But yeah, I got to think it's Brewers Cardinals till the wheels fall off. Like till we get to playoff time, it's Brewers Cardinals, and I definitely want your Brewers to win it. I am not a Cardinals fan by any stretch. That's my most hated team in that division. I don't have the hatred for the Cubs that you do, but I definitely don't like the Cardinals. So
I could see this division honestly being one of the most competitive races down the stretch. I feel like it could come down to the last series. I do see the AL East in the same boat, though. I see it with the Orioles and the Yankees and maybe even the Red Sox find their way into the race there. I could see it with the NL Central. I could see the Cubs playing their way back in somehow. I mean, a lot of people hate Craig Counsell. He finds ways to win games. He just does. I love it that he's sucking down there, but that son of a gun found ways to win games in Milwaukee, though people hated him. Now seeing him with the Cubs, I don't like him that much, but he finds ways. He finds ways there. So, Aaron, with that, anything else we got before we wrap it up here for the day?
Did you think Teoscar? I don't think anybody picked Teoscar Hernandez to win that.
The new rules of the home run derby made the home run derby less home runs. Like, honestly, like there was 14 home runs hit by the winner of the championship round. Like, wow. I remember the years of 40 home runs hit, and now we just saw 14. Like, I don't know. I did not see him winning it. No. I mean, I did not see the Final Four shaken out as it was. I really did think Ozuna and, we just talked about this, Ozuna, Jose Ramirez, you had Pete Alonso. Yeah. Who was the other guy? Who was the other big bopper in there?
Garcia, right?
Garcia. Yeah, that was definitely going to be my Final Four, if not Gunnar Henderson for Jose Ramirez, but that's who I figured in. It completely changed. So, I mean, hats off to those other guys for hitting enough, right? Hitting enough there. But, I mean, no, I did not see Teoscar winning that one there. But, Aaron, I need you got to mention to everybody where they can find you out there, on social media and everything like that.
Yeah, hopefully everybody's staying with us. We're, at over an hour. We got to be over an hour at this point. But, the Brutally Honest Sports Podcast. Brutally Honest, no T on Twitter is where I kind of, I'm the most active. But then Spotify, Apple, all the podcasting platforms. And YouTube, I need to do more on there, but Brutally Honest Sports Podcast. And if anybody subs or likes or whatever, I'll definitely reciprocate that energy there. And as always, love the crossover episodes. We could talk all night on a lot of these topics, and we could, but we won't do that to you.
No, some people got to go to bed. Some people got to go to bed around here. That's all I know. So, like I always say, follow, subscribe, whatever it is. Leave a review. Let us know how we did. Let us know questions you want us to answer on the show. Everything like that. We'd love to hear from you. As I always say, in the bio of the show, there's a send us a text message link there. Click that link. It'll send us fan mail on there, and you can reach out with a question or a review or anything that you want to say to us here on the show. You can definitely reach out that way too. So with that, this has been another crossover episode between Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage and Brutally Honest Sports. We will catch you back here tomorrow, but until then, deuces.
Yeah, oh my Lord, watch me sway. Darkness falls and we all pray, hoping for the light of day. Down to the river I have held the devil's hand, felt the weight of my own sin, burdened